I'm Amy Brown from Partners in Recovery, and I have the pleasure of, reintroducing Judy for this workshop, which I hear is going to be really interactive around how we hopefully look at meeting people's social needs for the transition from PIR to PGIS. Thanks, Judy.
And as I am so totally disorganised, because all I was focused on was getting through this morning, I really haven't got good preparation and questions up on the screen. And so I've decided it's got to be very interactive. And I tell you what I was sort of hoping for, and what I feel really sad about, is a lot of people with severe and persistent mental illness, like my son, finds it very hard to interact socially. And I keep referring to my lovely mate Darren Jiggins down in Tasmania, Hobart, and down in Tasmania. And he talks about that power of hugs and touch, and I think that saddens me so much, because I know how I feel if I don't get hugs and touch. And I think for him, when he's gone through times of his life where he would not have been touched for months at a time, and I find that intensely sad. And it's that sort of social needs, that bringing him into the community and reaching community acceptance. I think that's a bridge too far. I think there's always going to be a level of stigma, and I find that with family and friends, they feel frightened of how do we deal with somebody who's got a severe mental illness, who's a little bit odd sometimes. And I just think, just like everyone else, to take him for a cup of coffee, talk to him about his old Commodore. There are lots of ways of engaging. And so I am hoping that you will all have these great ideas about how we, when people are transitioned into the NDIS, how do we keep that level of support that Partners in Recovery seems to have provided. And I don't know about those of you who are support facilitators, whether you, I guess my support facilitator, my son's support facilitator, is very touchy-feely, and she doesn't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with it, and Justin certainly doesn't have a problem with it. But in this sort of world where you've got to get working with vulnerable people, you're not allowed to touch, you're not allowed to hug. I mean, what's wrong with hugs? So I suppose, I don't know whether this makes sense, but it's trying to keep, whether you think it's important, that's what I'd like to know for a start. And then if you do think it's important to sort of foster that social integration, that moving back into the community network, the building the team Sandy, how do we do that? Hopefully many of you will transition to the NDIS and utilise the amazing skills that you have all developed by working in Partners in Recovery. I think it's been fantastic, and I don't want to lose it. And most carers don't want to lose it, and hopefully most consumers don't want to lose it. So I guess first question is whether you think it is important, that these sorts of issues are important. I think the last thing my son needs is another visit to the psych unit. Yeah. He doesn't want medication, he doesn't want treatment, but he wants socialisation. And there are lots of others like that. I don't know.
We did at the Mental Health Council, we did a social and isolation project about 3 years ago, and interviewed consumers and carers.
Can everyone hear in the back?
Sorry, because carers also isolate and lose their friendships, and even their families sometimes don't want to be involved in the messy kind of, that person's got a child who is unpredictable and whatever. And we think, I think the stance of the council, certainly what I think is that along with secure, safe, supported housing, you need some sort of social connection. So whether it's touchy-feely or not, even just having somewhere to go where you can do something you enjoy doing, like art, or even just having a cup of coffee, or someone to talk to, or someone to hang out with, is critical. It's absolutely basic. So if the services aren't there, and someone told us, I think it was Sandy, told us that in Victoria they closed down an art class.
Yes.
That people were going to really enjoy, doing the artwork, and they're the kind of services we want to see grow, because I see that as fundamental.
But they're the
Some
ones that
people-
go, aren't they?
yeah,
Like
and they're the
at
ones that
Viewpoint,
go.
There used to be art therapy.
They're
there
seen
used to
as
be,
extras.
a
Yeah.
table there used to be cards, there used to be
Yeah.
pottery, there used to be a woodwork
Ways
section.
of hanging out
There's
together.
none of that.
They're seen as extras, and I think they're basics.
Yeah.
And I know Lucy's talked about, she gets a lot of that at church, her church fellowship, but not everyone wants to go to church. I mean, there are different courses for different horses, and I think it's critical. Not only that, I want to put this in the mix now. I'm very concerned about losing PIR, not because of the NDIS, but because very few people will be eligible for NDIS. And a large number of people would still benefit from PIR, will still have severe enough issues or complex issues, regardless of whether they're eligible for NDIS or not, that would benefit from having the PIR model. And I'm afraid that funding's going into, the NDIS. Will the state government step in and put in a similar model for people who aren't eligible? And if they don't, and also the mentoring, the fans, we still need mentoring for people who aren't eligible for NDIS. These are for me, they're far bigger concerns. I think the NDIS will take care. I'm trying to reassure you, Judy. I think they will take care of people with severe psychosocial disability. But that is a very small cohort that will be able to access that. And I'm worried about the others.
Has anyone else got issues they want to raise? Are there other things that you...
Well, I think that when we look, because obviously we're in Tasmania with Rethink, and I think federally as well, they're really, the groove word now is step up, step down. So we want to have that instead of all just going to acute because it costs less. But what I see as a consumer is I like my family, I like my consumer family, I'm safe with them. And for me, step up, step down is access to programs where I'm with other consumers, and to me that's step up, step down, because it is building me into the community. It doesn't have clinical service attachment. I don't want the clinical service attachment, I want the peer community, consumer community commitment, and I don't think that that would even be on the radar of how that funding is looked at. So it's another reason why just removing these sorts of things is not feasible for many people, particularly people that had to regain after my last psychosis. I spent 6 months with no language, and I had no thought. I was constantly in a state of anxiety because I couldn't contribute to conversation. And so it took another 6 months and another 6 months to where I am now back to me. So that's 18 months. But I needed to be around consumers because I didn't need to speak. I could be just quiet, and that was okay. And so I think that for me is step up and step down.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
You've, so your son's been through, have you been through the dating process?
We do.
Because I'm wondering how you're going to put that social support in words.
I don't
Because it's
know.
fair and reasonable is the quote that you get. Your plan's got to be fair and reasonable. So how, as we hear of people, like we had one of our consumers wanted to put in, they wanted a maths tutor. Now for a 17-year-old class, well that's not very reasonable. What?
Why? Isn't that going to help that person to
It
achieve
wasn't that
their
good, we
goal?
couldn't have that. Yeah. So that's what I mean. So that's one of the concerns I have is how because we all understand the value of having the social support and that, how do you word that so that it becomes fair and reasonable?
I guess it's like fair and reasonable in addition to what's outside mainstream.
It's an
Accessibility,
interesting
is that
concept
how
though,
they
don't you
feel
think?
it,
I don't know,
or-
but it's fair and reasonable, so it's an interesting, what you see is fair and reasonable, and what the
Yeah,
planner
right,
sees
right.
fair
Yeah.
and reasonable could be totally, so it's interesting we would actually have that in the plan, but you haven't seen the social support.
And this is where I feel that people who work in partners in recovery will make fantastic plans because you know you've worked with people with severe and persistent mental illness and complex needs, and you know how to bring this in.
Yeah.
So in the NDIS side, you go to a planner who sets the plan for a year's period and how to spend the money. But I think there also is a role that you can request, which is a coordinator who would do something a little bit similar to what PIR does in help come to a plan and identify your goals and help coordinate what you need.
Yes.
So maybe that's a little bit of hope in
But isn't that brokerage? Doesn't that come in your plan?
it does,
You have to
yeah, it
pay
costs
for it.
money, you have to pay
Yes.
So
for
how
it.
many people are actually going to see this money and think, okay, I really need support and have a coordinator? That's the issue, the same as the carer. These are gaps that are in it. You have to pay for this coordinator. Whereas realistically, we all do coordination in all our roles as people.
But
You
you're
know,
not
anybody who
paid
works
to
in
do
the industry.
coordination.
Sorry?
You're not paid to
No,
do
nobody's paid for coordination, but
This person will actually be
you have to pay for it.
Yeah, but you might get given more money if you require that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand totally what you mean, but we've been dealing, like, as we've had consumers in it since the start, so it's just something, and they're not taking up that offer because they see there's money going elsewhere. Instead of them going for the social, maybe they have to pay a coordinator. So if it's put, what would you do?
But
It's just, I mean, it's, there are, because there's a lot of organisations sprung up to do that.
I understood, somebody told me that all of the Tasmanian organisations have become NDIS providers. No. Oh, is that so? Okay, because
There's a
we're
lot of new
having...
ones come up as well.
Yes, and that is a big worry for me because there are lots of for-profit organisations that are setting up to run these. Now, if the Job Services Network is anything to go by, I think this is going to be a disaster. And I want people in there who can understand the needs and work to what the person wants.
Yeah, but we're going to have a lot of people who won't be eligible
Who
for
won't be,
NDIS,
that's
so we
right.
need the services there. And what I fear is that the government, state government, state and federal, because the federal government will, PHT will commission federally funded services, whatever they may be. I've got a list. But what worries me is that a lot of organisations will go to being NDIS providers in the main. Smaller organisations might be at risk of being defunded by the other two government bodies. And who's going to be providing services for those people in the middle, who have up to quite severe mental health issues and sometimes without any care or support or whatever? Where is that going to come from? And I think that's the fear we've had from the beginning.
I think that's a valid fear. It's already happening in the disability sector where people with an NDIS package are getting priority access to things over people who do not have an NDIS package. So services that they would normally have had in their lives for quite a long time, that those services are starting to say, oh, that's what's not available anymore. We only have a certain number available for non-NDIS participants. And, so I can see that that's going to happen in the mental health sector as well.
We've also had people have their wristband hours cut because they haven't used them. So they don't use them, so, so they cut them. Because you haven't proved you've used them in that first year of your plan.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, as you know, would keep them for, for events or something.
Yeah,
They
that's
want
right.
that 2 weeks off instead of...
With an episodic illness, how... No.
How can you do it?
And that's what I mean, like Andrew mentioned a $60,000 package earlier,
And there's only.
but over the lifetime of that participant, who I'm assuming is in, what's the age bracket
That'd
in
be
Tasmania at the moment?
At the moment, it's the next cohort, the first rollout will be 12 to 24.
So is that $60,000 for that person's entire?
No, only the year.
Just for the year, okay.
And that's only one person, everyone's different.
Yeah, no, I just thought it was for
There's
like
huge
over the
ones out
lifetime, and I
there.
thought, well, that's not
It's a large amount for a year, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what will happen though with the mental health issue will be, if you get on a plan, they say you're on a plan for life, which means when you're well, you just don't access the supports, or you just access minimal supports. But as soon as you start becoming unwell, it's meant to go up again. But I'm concerned then about, will there be a waiting time, to
How
get
do you
back into...
prove that you're unwell enough to access
That's
what you
where my
need
concern
when you need
is.
it?
Because they'll just say, oh, that's okay. When you're okay, the supports go down. When you're feeling worse,
That's right.
it'll go up
Get in
again.
touch with
But
us
I'm
when you
not
can.
sure how smooth that process might
And
be.
that gap between,
Yeah.
you might have a planner help you to do the most whiz-bang NDIS plan ever,
Yeah,
but you kind of keep up your sleeve a little bit for when, if and when you need it.
yeah.
And then you perhaps get unwell and do need it. Then, do you then have to scramble about making, what are they, service user agreements with organisations to do this thing?
Well, you
plans
buy
and
their
this thing?
services, yeah.
Yeah,
You
but when
can
you're
take
not
control of
responsible,
that,
you
or
know,
you can, someone else can
Or
do it
someone
for
else,
you.
you
Yeah,
can nominate
you can
someone else.
nominate someone else, yeah.
Anyone at the back got any?
I just wonder, so it seems to me, I'm just a take student, I'm not in the actual sector, but just from what I've been hearing and stuff, I wonder, it seems to be like the difference between quality and quantity of measures. Not maybe they could have an allowance for quality of swimming.
Yeah, that is, I agree, yeah.
Yeah, and that's that idea of pop-up services coming in for profits, where profit is the most important motive. People are afraid that quality will go out the window. Yeah.
And I think they are going to need some protection if there's profit organisations coming in, should that even be allowed.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that will happen under this.
No, because it's a market system.
Yeah, it's registered, there are private, they're registered. And the thing with Tasmania is a lot of Victorian are now coming in.
Of
Yeah.
course, because you can't do it well here.
So therefore they can see a niche, so that's where there's a lot of new organisations have come to the fore now because of the 15 to 24-year-olds.
Yeah, I
There's a lot
find
of
that
those social
worrying.
support groups, isn't there, that have come to that.
So, yeah, go on.
So what is the process? You're eligible for the NDIS, so just as an example around how do you then proceed and the money? What happens with the control of the money?
I think that varies in states and territories. I was given, because my son applied for a pre-planning grant. Now, I'm not sure that that's available in all states and territories. It was $1,000, which is provided just for the pre-planning process.
So that was just for that, okay.
Yeah, so that enabled him to contract a service that's been set up just as NDIS plans. I feel reasonably comfortable. One of the partners, there are two women, one of them is a social worker at the acute mental health unit, and she pointed out that if Justin has to go back into career, then she couldn't do this job, she'd have to put him onto the partner. So there is $1,000. I am holding that at the moment, and I'm paying the bills. And when that $1,000 is used up, that's it. There won't be any more. And I'm not sure whether Tasmania.
Yeah, so in Tassie, at least with the trial, the pre-planning's been done by MAPS, so local area coordinators at Care and Mission.
Everybody has to go through Gateway, everybody knows that, don't they?
Yeah.
First, that's the first point of call before they go.
So is that
That's where
free?
it's covered, that's it.
Is that,
Oh, the pre-planning.
Yeah,
that's free? Yeah, okay.
And they have lots of workshops around, aren't they, to try and engage with the next cohort especially.
Yeah, I think from talking to people in the Tassie office, they're expecting most people with psychosocial disability to request and need pre-planning, especially for their first plan. Which is, makes sense.
Well, yeah.
Are there other issues that?
If you're talking about children though, it'll be the parents who.
Yes, and they will be allowed to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
that
right.
would be, that's the difference, because
Yes,
the child
it is
mother.
the difference,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, I mean, I sat in with Justin on this first session. I helped him to fill out the application and I really hated it. I really, having got so far along this recovery journey, to have to then say how bad it is. And Justin has to let somebody access his mental health records to confirm his diagnosis. He doesn't have a GP. I don't know of a lot of people who are in this cohort who do have a regular GP. And I find that really sad too. And we were told at the national meeting that you can get an occupational therapy assessment. But for somebody to come in who doesn't know that person, I can't see why parents cannot do that assessment with the participant and say, well, this is what, because my son doesn't have any problems. It's not
And that's
money,
where, you know,
accommodation.
that in clinical terms when they talk about collateral information, or if there was that open dialogue model, that you would be able to get the information from all people that
Have a relationship.
yeah,
That's
because from a Partners in Recovery perspective, in trying to assist someone get on a disability support payment, we funded for the person to have a neuropsychological assessment because of some acquired brain injury associated from something else apart from the person having a mental illness. But the person who conducted that assessment spent fairly limited time frame, and this person, despite the brain injury, is actually very intelligent, you know, and so as the result, despite the reports provided from other sort of collateral information, the person who conducted that assessment and wrote the report basically said this person doesn't have a mental illness and this person can go to work full time. And, you know, it really isn't possible for this person.
Well, Judy, you told the story of Justin, how he was sent home by a psychiatrist, a locum.
Yes.
And I've heard stories of people being sent home who were suicidal and then committed suicide, well, not committed, completed suicide. And I think if the clinicians can't do a proper assessment,
That's where you need the people that are in the person's life to be able to share their knowledge.
I mean, it's not as simple as, you know, I've got the expertise, and you were saying?
One of the things I was talking to a couple of Partners in Recovery workers with was I wonder whether we are doing exactly the opposite in the establishment of this whole process, which goes against any sort of like health knowledge, which is, here we are, we've got this whole new system we're putting in place. Is there an overarching when the shit hits the fan committee? And can people as individuals, because I was working for one of the organisations that fit under PIR once, and you often found that you'd go to your supervisor with issues and it didn't suit the workplace to feed that information back because of funding. So am I able to access somebody in a hotline and say, you know what, there's a real issue here, I need you to know it so it can be done, we need stats. So is any of that actually, does anyone know, has NDIS or the federal government even considered that, or are we going to have to wait until somebody dies? And then there's a commission.
There's an appeal process.
There is an appeal process through Advocacy Tasmania. They've got an officer in place. I think it's only one.
Who's that? The advocacy Tasmania.
Lead.
Yeah, but first of all, you've got to go through your other processes.
You have to
You've
go
got to have two, you've got to have
internally.
your internal
You
one.
go to the
and
internal
then
one,
once
and
that
then you
doesn't
can
work,
go to the external.
external one. One
So it's a
for
long
you.
process, yeah.
But as a new system, wouldn't it be easier to just go, all right, you know, and I'd like confidentiality around being able to address and say what I would like to say and have somebody
Yeah,
hear
yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Certainly, I think it is, to be fair to the NDIS, and I've been involved in a few of the meetings between the Department of Health and NDIS about the transition from the Partners in Recovery. And they do recognise that it is a work in progress.
Yeah.
It is really difficult. Mental health came into the NDIS late, through a lot of us agitating for it to be included. So I do feel that it is taking some time to work this through. But the people who are doing this, I think, are fantastic.
Oh,
And that gives me some hope. I'm full of fear about this,
Yeah.
but there are some terrific people
I have to
involved.
say again, I'm not fearful there, I'm just fearful that the reason that the consumer care movement at the national level agitated to have mental health as part of the NDIS was that there always has been, and we all know it, that small cohort of people that were falling through the cracks. People with severe psychosocial disability on the streets, in and out of hospital, in jail, in dodgy boarding houses. No services would take them on because they couldn't articulate goals on their recovery journey. They kept being pushed from pillar to post. Carers were getting tired and sometimes were threatened and couldn't have them living with them. So we wanted those people to be taken care of. And that's what the NDIS is promising. And I've no doubt they'll deliver that. They will work it through. But that's a small cohort. We never intended for that to happen at the expense of programs for all those other people in the community who won't be eligible. And that's the fear now. That's the fear.
There is, I also feel a little bit hopeful about that too, because I do think Department of Health recognises that Partners in Recovery has been this huge success.
Yeah.
And probably many of you have not read the evaluations. I've had to read the evaluations. They have been fantastic. I think if I worked in a job where such marvellous things were said about my position, I'd be thrilled to bits. And I do think there are thoughts around keeping something like Partners in Recovery going after Partners in
That's what
Recovery.
we have to agitate for.
Absolutely, absolutely. At the moment, they're so caught up with trying to get this transition happening. It's happening fast, I think possibly too fast, but we're stuck with it. Sorry.
Well, there's also that presumption, perhaps, that the PIR would be around, because the other thing with people with all these complex issues is a lot of them don't meet the requirements.
They don't, and will not want.
So it's
No,
sort of that.
it's a lot of people, a lot of consumers, I think we found that were very, very distressed at the wording of the application.
Yeah.
You know, and walked away and said, I am not putting that down on my plan. I will not do that. That's saying that, right, I'm going to have this mental illness for life. And that's
But it's
something.
not a mental illness, it's not diagnosed.
So it's really hard, and I can see that. But I think certainly Eddie Bartnick has got a lived experience, and I do think he's a fantastic. He was the mental health commissioner in Western Australia, and he is a fantastic person. He understands, and I do think the people working through this are there because that's where their heart is. I'm trying to be positive.
I've got a positive.
Sorry?
I've got a positive about it. It means services have to stand up because someone's buying their service now. So therefore, as a consumer, whichever word we all hate, you're buying a service. So therefore, you've got to step up and you've got to be good.
Yeah.
So you're going to weed out some services that are just, you know, so like if we don't all go to a certain shop, that closes.
Yes,
So that's a positive, I think. If you look at that, then that's a positive. It is
But
because,
how do you help your clients to know what service to
but
ask
they'll
for?
learn that too, though, won't they? I mean, it's
Well,
only
no,
a
if
year
you've got a
plan.
severe mental illness.
Yeah, I understand, but I'm
Yes,
trying to get some
sometimes-
positives here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get a positive in.
It's like the mental health care plans though too, you can, your doctor might refer you to a psychologist and then you go to one session and you think, oh, that psychologist sucks.
So you go to a different one.
That
But
happened to me.
most people do not know that they can request to go to a different one.
That's right.
They
Yeah.
think
And
they're
most
stuck
GPs
with
will
that
block it
person.
and say,
Really?
no, this
Yeah.
is my
So there's real need for advocacy services though.
Yeah.
More,
Just-
more, and then there's
It's
more
not even
advocacy.
necessarily advocacy, but it's just education around your rights.
It's difficult with this cohort though. I mean, if I think of my son when he was unwell, he couldn't work his way through this. In fact, he doesn't know what to ask for. His pre-planner said, well, just when we can get you somebody to come and clean the house. And there is no way on earth he will allow anyone to come in and touch his own home, his place, his safety, his refuge. There is no way he would let anyone come in there. The same with food. We could pay for somebody to prepare your lunches so you can go to university with a good lunch. No way on earth. So there were two options that she put to him, which were dismissed immediately. So he doesn't really even know what he can get. And it is a work in progress. I think it's really...
It's interesting that if you flip that around and you think about the consumer, the person with that severe mental illness, I wonder how they would talk about the benefits of joining NDIS.
Justin didn't want to know.
Because what I'm hearing you saying is that the things that were offered to him, he didn't see the benefit in that wasn't
No.
helpful for him.
No.
It was
So
actually
what sort of things?
invoking
That's right.
stress.
He wants some help when his old Commodore breaks down or when the renter is due, those sorts of things, but they are considered your normal living expenses. So they're not covered. He can get an allowance, I think 2,000 a year, which does not have to be sort of justified. Up to that 2,000 a year to help with his travel costs to and from university.
And yet, to come back to your first point, if you were able to articulate goals around social connection,
Yes.
that would be extremely valuable.
It would. That's right. But I suppose, am I imposing my views on him? Whereas I see that social isolation as an awful issue for him. I really do.
Yeah.
But perhaps he doesn't. Perhaps he's
That's the issue though. The issue is sometimes when you're in that space of a severe mental illness, when I've been really, really depressed, there's no way on earth I can articulate anything about what I need, but I clearly need something because I can't leave the house, because I can't leave my life. And I feel like everything is not worth it. Now I know with my son, this is a good news story. So Alan and I decided, he stabilised on clozapine. We're going to take him overseas. We're going to give him something that he couldn't do on his own. And we took him to 5 countries in 5 weeks. When we got to London, he realised he didn't have enough medication for 5 weeks. I rang his shrink in Hobart, Andrew, who said, you won't get a script over there for that. If he gets sick, eke it out over the time you're away. If he gets sick, take him to the hospital. Great. Not only didn't he get sick, by the time we got to Italy, he was hanging out with other people. We're at a vineyard at night with music and stuff, having dinner, and next thing I look up and 2 women had pulled him onto the dance floor. And nobody guessed or thought that he had a mental illness. He was fabulous. We get home after a month, he starts to go downhill and his medication had to go up again. It didn't go up the full level, but I realised having something to do, having something to look forward to each day, The Italian trip in particular was great because it was a small bus tour, and it meant, though he got up early in the morning, he could sleep on the bus between stops, and he met a whole lot of other people. It really reinforced in me how important it was to feel a connection, not just to me and Alan and his brother, but to other people, and that other people, he was there and they didn't think he was a demon, which is what he fears, that people think he's a demon. And, you know, it just reinforced in me, but there was no way he would have said, if anyone asked him, you know, had to fill in the form, and they said, what do you need? There's no way he would say, I need social connection, or I need to get out and do stuff. Yeah, he wouldn't say that. He wouldn't say that. So that's the problem with these kind of things for people with that level. He has paranoid schizophrenia, and when he's really bad, he thinks people are trying to get him, like your son, Judy. And at that kind of sharp end that we're talking about, when people are not well, they just have no way. And even when he's well, he thinks he's okay.
That's right.
You know, it mightn't be as well as he could be, but he thinks, yeah, I'm okay. I'm not, you know, going, you know, whatever. People aren't calling me demon and stuff like that, you know. So that is a real problem with this kind of, you know, service, unless the people who are related, as you say, are involved in helping to do that. And they're not allowed to because it's an opt-in kind of thing. It's, you know, people have to nominate their own staff. Sometimes they need help to do that, you know? Do you think so?
So have others got ideas about how you people who are going into the NDIS, they may get, you know, their needs met to help them to go to university, to help them to have an education, to go to work or whatever. But do others think it's important to try and how do we do it? Is there a way of, can you be involved as people referring your clients into the NDIS? Do you talk to them about what their needs are? Because it seems to be, what are your goals and what do you need to meet your goals? And I don't think my son would say for one moment, my goal is to be socially connected.
I think that's where PIR probably are fairly well placed to help people transition to the NDIS, because that's what we look at, is what are your areas of your life where you have unmet needs and what's stopping you from being able to meet those needs. So I don't have anybody that I'm currently working with or have worked with who's transitioned or is in that age group, so I can't really speak for what it's what the experience is. I don't know if anybody here has.
Oh, I see. Of course, I'm
Not in
forgetting that.
Tasmania.
2015.
Yeah, because all
Can be
of
nominated first on form.
see, all of the ACT has got to be transitioned by the end of the year.
Is there any states in Bali? Because they were the ones that had full control over that.
I met with the manager of a CSA program from Bali. I met with her coordinator, and two people that were receiving packages. They started off as an organisation, I think, with 5 full-time employees. When I spoke with her, I think she had 2 full-time employees and 30 casuals working 24/7. The 2 people that have received packages, one was for nearly $250,000 and the other one was for around $100,000, and they were both happy with those packages.
I bet.
The people that were
Was that the mental health issues?
the people that weren't providing those services 24/7, when they picked up one of these boxes, laptop, and when they finished providing that service, the person they were providing it for had to sign it, acknowledge that the service had been delivered. If it wasn't delivered, then they didn't get paid.
Okay.
The other thing that they talked about, struggling with, was the money they were paid to provide the service never met the award of.
No, that's right.
So the only way they could make money was combine people, one person to deliver a service for three. So that's the bad side of it.
Am I right in thinking that Barwon doesn't have a PIR?
I'm not sure.
I've got an idea that they were not covered.
I think you're right.
So, yeah, it's Hunter, certainly the people from the Hunter region talk very glowingly about how they've been able to transition their partners in recovery people into the NDIS and how successful that is. We in the ACT have been given another 12 months because it's obvious that it's just not possible, given the numbers and given the staff levels, to get everyone transitioned by the end of June. It's just not possible. So another 12 months of Partners in Recovery has been allowed. But certainly I do still think that something like, whether it's called Partners in Recovery, that something is going to have to continue to support the people who do not meet NDIS requirements, who do not wish to meet NDIS. You can't just...
And if they've got the skills to deliver that service.
Yes. A lot of our community sector is not going in connecting as providers. I don't know why that is. They think it's too hard. They don't choose to, whatever the reason. I'm hoping that will change because we need them desperately.
I'm just wondering whether anyone knows here, or with yourself, with the NDIS funding that someone gets allocated, if, for instance, they're paying for a service and they booked an appointment, but they don't attend the appointment or use that service, does the professional still get paid? And like, what are the implications for people in this cohort that very often do not attend?
Yeah.
And how does that eat into their funding?
So there's these service agreements that have those kind of things detailed. But whether people have any choice over what those agreements look like.
Yes, I guess you would have to, that would have to be covered. I mean, if you go out to visit somebody and they're not there or they don't turn up, you'd have to have some sort of payment for that.
But then how,
But I
like,
don't
if it's
know.
the case where the individual has to sign off to say, yes, you attended, or then how does, you know, is that just
I think if
that
you don't turn
professional,
up, the
that
package
service
is
person?
reduced.
Is that so?
Yeah, I don't think they get paid, but the money drops. They don't get that allocation for that day.
There's this was from New South Wales coming here, and that question was asked, and basically what they said was services need to start adopting a business approach, and it's like Nick Girl said, if you don't, if they don't attend, you don't get paid. But I don't know how, if it's indicated in that, or perhaps have to build a line for it. So
I mean, that's what happens with a lot of GPs or psychologists or whatever, you still get charged whether you attend or not.
Yes, but who is going to support the participant to manage that part of their life? How to get out of bed in time to get to that appointment? If you've got somebody who meets the criteria for acceptance into the NDIS, they've got to prove that they're pretty unwell. And they don't manage their lives super well.
Or they could be becoming acute, so then they drop off everything.
That's right.
You know, let's face it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with boundaries. I had a conversation with a participant who sort of said, what if you came to my house and like, because quite often I text this person the morning of to see if it's still okay to come out. She's like, what if you come here, I've already sent you the text to say that it's okay, but I don't answer the door when you get here. Are you allowed to come in my house? Are you allowed to do this? Are you allowed to do that? It's like, I guess there's all these extra risk things that, you know, she's like, if the door's unlocked, would you come in and check on me? Would you come into my bedroom to see if I'm alive?
That's a big response.
It is. Yeah.
Just policies and procedures, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, as an organisation, we've got to stick to what the organisation says.
But I can just speaking as a person who has anxiety disorder as part of my woes. If I'm in a very bad, anxious state, I will not want anyone in my house. So I'll be fine. I'm fine. You know me. I function. I'm fine. I'm good with people. I do my job. I'm okay. But when I'm in that state, I can't be having people. In my normal state, I won't have anyone in my house I don't like because I feel like my house reflects me. I won't. I can't have that. If someone tries to come in even if it's a worker, Alan has to deal with them. I can't be there. That's just my peculiarity. But if I'm really anxious, I would be that person who won't answer the door. I'd be that person who, and that can happen over a space of time that I'm okay and then it builds up before I get to the doctor, because then I go to the doctor because I know I have to go to the doctor or it gets worse. But that's the truth about any, and I'm not eligible, will never be eligible for the NDIS, but that's the nature of mental illness, whatever level, that there are times when all those responsibilities, phone calls, appointments, everything drops off. Everything, nothing matters, you just don't want to know about it. So how much understanding of that is inbuilt?
But you've got a business model that's all about billing for the hour.
That's
and
right.
that text message reminder or check-in, that's sort of included in your hour of support.
Yeah,
so
that
why
would
you
be
getting that?
But it'd be like lawyers,
Yeah.
charging you for photocopying, for resources.
That's true.
It doesn't, and
Quite fit
how do people balance that with the heart stuff and the social stuff and you mentioned earlier the support facilitator taking your son's pair of sunglasses.
Yeah.
In what plan would that be an item of?
That's right. And will people do sort of that sort of thing under the NDIS? Will that be thought unsafe? I don't know.
Judy, they don't pay for caseworkers, do they? And I think what a lot of people need is that caseworker or mentor relationship.
Even if Janet says you're not allowed to use the word caseworker.
But I think that's the thing is because the government will assume that will still be a service available, won't it? Is that? I might.
That's why I say one nationalised for public.
So you get your own service coordinator who'll go out with you and do things with you?
That was my understanding.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's where you can contract your
But maybe what you want to contract within the NDIS is a mentor or someone like a FAMS worker, like someone who'll go out with you and do things with you. And like Alex loves playing snooker, so someone to play snooker with. That kind of thing.
Just one thing I talked to a lot of consumers about this, and there was a conference in Queensland just a couple of weeks ago, or I believe it was Queensland, around consumers don't complain. And consumers don't complain because, and I've heard it even just last week, because if I make you sick and you lose your job and you get mental illness, it's all my fault. So what I can see happening is that same thing you're saying, I just won't answer the phone and I just won't. So I will lose my funding because I don't like the relationship I'm having with my service provider.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Sue Ham, I was talking to her after her presentation yesterday, and she thought that either she or Deb Roberts, and Deb is the head of the mental health section with NDIS, and she thought that perhaps they need to actually come down to Tassie and talk to people here on the ground, and that perhaps, there are issues that are not being understood or that they have not heard. Sue made the point that things that she had heard yesterday led her to believe that perhaps somebody like Deb, who is involved in the mental health side of the NDIS, and a great person. For those of you who were at the last national meeting, she spoke, and she's really lovely. But is this something you could ask for? If so, who would do the asking? Do you think it's necessary? Is it something you would find helpful to have the person who is actually working through the NDIS issues for mental illness?
Yeah, I mean, Connie, the mental health council CEO, meets with Sue Ham and Narelle Bart regularly now, so maybe she could ask.
Yeah.
But I think what's important is to have consumers and carers there to ask questions, because they are really confused and overwhelmed, and they're the ones asking all the service providers questions, and the service providers can't give them the answers either. So maybe it would have to include consumers and carers.
Judy, can I just go back to you?
Okay. Does anyone have any issues? I mean, this has sort of been a little bit confused, but these are all real issues. I find these are real issues, and certainly something that the consumer and carer movement is concerned about. And that's why they do need to be involved, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Has there been any sort of input from NDIS to your forum meetings in the last?
Yeah, I mean, we've had communications. Last meeting we didn't have an update, except from Frank Quinlan. MHA's doing a lot of work with NDIS.
I know.
And Janet Ma is on the expert panel as well, and she's reports back.
Yeah.
But I think there's still that level that what you voiced right at the beginning. There's a level of people being unsure, and if carers are unsure, believe me, consumers are really like, whatever does it mean for me?
Yep.
You know, really. So what we need is a few more answers, more case studies. See, the case study that we got yesterday, I have to say, was good as far as it went, but then it stopped. Like, that was the end of it. And if this is a lifelong service, tell us what happens then. Did her supports go down because she didn't need as many, and would they be available if she got sick again? We didn't really get a full picture, so we need real pictures.
We do. And is it like ComSuper, where if you get a ComSuper package, you then have to continue to be ill? There is no point in you improving because you lose your package. So
and that's what they say about the DSP.
Absolutely.
There's no incentive to get off it.
No, that's right. So I think we might finish, do you think?
Yeah.
Unless, are there issues that people want to bring up or raise? And certainly there are lots of concerns, and I think
It's not just consumers and carers that are
Oh no, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying if the service providers and others are confused, what about the consumers?
But we've got different questions.
Yeah.
That posed the
Anyway, I might
thank all.
suggest to Andrew that he talks to Sue and perhaps suggest a national Tasmania. Just to go through these with real case studies, and I'm sure you've all got case studies.
You get idea how
Just
you stay at home, you stay
how
at home, you
That's
stay at
what you
home.
do.
If that's okay,
Yeah, absolutely.
and go and have your cup of tea.
That's exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you.